Volkanovski, he has nothing to lose. He's not putting a win streak on the line. He's not putting his belt on the line. Yeah, you got 12 days notice, but he's lucky that I'm giving him a chance. That's what Islam Makhachev more or less is thinking.
Here are your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
Makhachev, Volkanovski, number 2 for the lightweight title. Folks, this is arguably one of the biggest rematches in recent mixed martial arts history. Not just the UFC, MMA in totality, and we're here to break it down. My name is Derick G. Welcome back to another episode of the Bloody Water Podcast. And breaking it down with me, as always, the Santa Fe bomber, the New Mexico native himself, AJ, Usman, Chimaev, Makhachev, Volkanovski. Less than 2 weeks notice for some studs stepping up on short notice, man. But this is going to be arguably one of the biggest events in MMA, right?
Oh, absolutely, Derick. This is going to be one of the biggest events in MMA. And also, a lot of people are saying with this short notice, these fighters coming in, it might have made for a better card. I don't know yet. We're going to see how it unfolds, but I am excited for this one nonetheless, Derick. We got rematches. We got new shakeups. We got people that not a lot of people have heard about going to make a big splash in the UFC. I'm excited for this week, brother. How you feeling?
I'm feeling great, man, but I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. Coming from a wagering perspective, when I was doing my film study, when I was looking at some props, looking at some numbers, there's a lot to be confident about, but there's a lot that is just up in the air. Normally, you get a numbered card and you say, oh, I know these fighters. This should be pretty easy. Let's lock it down, chalk it up, right? However, this time around, it might be a little bit different, folks. So we're going to jump into all of that. But before we do that, let's jump into a little bit of housekeeping quickly. Take a look at the scoreboard below. The leader, he has actually increased the lead. AJ on 110, 71, and 3. You had a big week last week, folks. Apologies. Didn't have a post show, but we did post our stats and our numbers because we hold ourselves accountable. I am trailing 108, 73, and 3. Point is, still very close. Couple months left. And don't forget, folks, there's 2 shiny belts behind me. I'm going to have the third one ready to display the one we're fighting for this year. So just, keep it locked. But AJ, real quick, the people need to do something before we jump into the TLDRs and all that good stuff. Tell the people what they need to do.
And not only, folks, do you need to subscribe, because that's what we tell you week in and week out, but I'm also demanding, man, this is a big fight card right here. If you know anybody that's out there, maybe just a little interested in MMA, maybe has an ear to their sport, you want to show them some picks, you want to show them how you can win some money, you need to send this link over to your friends so that way they know exactly who to thank whenever they're cashing in the big money. And sure, we'll let it be you. You just got to let them know where you found the picks. Send them over here to the Bloody Water Podcast so we can start making everybody some money week in and week out. We have a small army behind us, but we're looking to grow that army each and every single week. Do me a favor, do Derick a favor, do us a favor over here and send it to your friends. Let them know where you found them and hit us in the comments. Let us know how much money you're winning. It's going to be a fun week.
Folks, it's really as simple as that, right? Just pay it forward. That's all that we ask. It's okay. Be down at B-Dubs, Buffalo Wild Wings, UFC 294, eating wings, watching good fights, and being the man because you picked all the fights right and won all the money. But with that being said, you're not going to know who to pick unless we get into the TLDR. So let's jump straight to it. All right. AJ, in a weird twist of fate, we're actually starting off with the props. Why? Because we have some work to do, my friend. All right. There is no minus money on this sheet here, AJ, so I'm going to pull it down. Let's talk about you. You got a very interesting one. Plus 125 for points, Muhammad Makhachev versus Tim Elliott. He's awkward. He's a veteran. He might make things a little interesting, but I like the play here. Talk to the people.
I like the play too, Derick, just because Tim Elliott is such a hard fighter to figure out, to actually get a finish on, and Muhammad Makhachev is going to be hunting that whole time. So I do think this fight's going to go to the finish, or go to the decision, But I think Muhammad Makhachev might pull it out in the end. We'll see how we can figure out that awkward style, but I do like the money right here, Derick. What about your prop, man? It's a little interesting, taking the TKO.
I'm taking the TKO. I'm going to bring it up one more time, folks. Take a quick glimpse. Trevor Peek. We're talking about flying, running, hammer fists in your face and all that. Listen, the reality is Trevor Peek has yet to have an established UFC career where he's fighting his original slated opponent. Finally, he gets a dude who hasn't pulled out, knock on wood, right? Because we're only a couple days removed from the fight, but he has his original opponent. He has a game plan. It's not a last-second switch up. So what I expect is for him to take it against the newcomer, Muhammad Yahya, right? Making his UFC debut, home territory. Very technical. Trevor Peek, he destroys anything that is technical. So unless you could fight fantastic off of your back foot and overcome that adversity, I really like that TKO at plus money. But I have to warn you folks, I have been taking a look at what's live right now. It is shifted to minus money. Not falling into the minus money curse, but it goes to show that when I found it, listen, great value. Of course, you're getting it now. Lock it in where you can. But AJ, this is the one that matters. This is the picks right here, baby. Folks, you guys get 3 solid seconds. Take your screenshots, run to your sports book, thank us later. I'm going to pull it down. AJ, we're pretty damn good when it comes down to the Bloody Water Podcast consensus picks, if I do say so for myself. Last week, 1-1 on the consensus picks, and I got a bone to pick with that, but that's going to be another conversation for another day. We have 4 of them here today. Let us list them off. Islam Makhachev, and still Hamza Chimaev taking down the Nigerian Nightmare, Magomed Ankalaev, and Ikram Aliskerov, right? We have one conflicting pick, and I think that's for the good sake of competition, man. Saeed Nurmagomedov, Muin Gafurov. I'm taking the dog. AJ, you like the crafty Nurmagomedov. In a sentence, what's the theme of the picks today, my friend?
Ooh, the theme of my consensus picks this week are exactly that, Derek. Consistency. A lot of these people, you know, they're not the ones taking the short notice fight, but they've also been on a trajectory upwards continuously. Albeit Makhachev, some depends. Some feel a little different way about that one, but I still do think this guy's the dog. And going forward, man, this is going to be a fun one. I like consistency as my theme. Derek, what about you?
You know what? I'm going to stick with you right there. Let's rock consistency. I think that's a fair take. I think it's a solid premise to roll off of. And in the grand scheme of things, as long as they keep it consistent, like I said, and still for the headline, everything else is more or less minus money. Let's roll them, baby. I'm ready to roll the dice. Now, AJ, before we jump into the actual main card breakdown, we're about to break down a championship fight right now. I do want to give you guys just a friendly reminder. AJ told you guys to subscribe, all of that good stuff. We love that. We're getting close to 750 subscribers. That means we're close to 800, which in the grand scheme of things takes us to our yearly goal of 1,000 subscribers. If you want to be a part of the massive army that is the Bloody Water Podcast Army, jump on board now, because by the time that you hop on, if you haven't subscribed now, it's going to be too late. Don't get left behind. Be one of the founders, one of the originators. And with that being said, let's break down some fights. Let's get it, baby.
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
It's not often that you see gold on both sides of the graphic, folks, but what you see here is Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski. It's a rematch, and in a weird twist of fate, this is 10 pay-per-views from when they originally met at UFC 284. But there's a caveat here, AJ, and I want to jump straight into it. Baked in excuses. That's something that the pre-fight presser has really been ringing bells on right there. They're saying, all right, yeah, Volkanovski, he has nothing to lose. He's not putting a win streak on the line. He's not putting his belt on the line. Yeah, you got 12 days notice, but he's lucky that I'm giving him a chance. That's what Islam Makhachev more or less is thinking. How much are you factoring in these built-in excuses of a short notice title fight?
I'm not, Derek, to be completely honest with you, man. Volkanovski has proved time in and time out that he is always ready to step in. And that even from the wise words of Uncle Dana, he only had to ask him once. He literally gave him a call, said, you want the fight? It was already signed. He had to give him a little time to let the boys in Abu Dhabi actually get the notice. But still, man, Volkanovski is always a dog, always prepared, and he's going to show up ready to fight. I'm not putting too much into these excuses, and I highly doubt Volkanovski will say them if he loses it. But what about you, Derek? Do you let those the ears out there in the media play to your picks?
It's almost like a dog whistle, right? It's just like low key, just signaling something to you. And on one hand, from an excuse standpoint, no, I'm not reading into that. But AJ, this is not an excuse podcast. This is not just a peripheral podcast. This is a show where we're talking specifically about wagering and winning money. And when money is on the line, I do have to take that into consideration. So let's jump straight to it, man. Championship rounds. That was the difference maker in the fight last time. Of course, Islam Makhachev got the job done. He argues he won all 4 rounds. He only gave one up to Volkanovski. We get rounds 3, rounds 4, rounds 5. 2-week notice, but he was training to fight Ilia Topuria, right? Can he push that pace? Can he break down Makhachev in the championship rounds on short notice like this?
That's a hard one, Derek, especially because with how Islam Makhachev fight style is, this guy's always going to be there in rounds 3, 4, and 5. Now, can Volkanovski put that pressure on him? I think if we see a mix-em up, if Alexander Volkanovski is able to defend the takedowns or at least get a takedown, make Islam think and make him use that brain power, because if Islam's thinking, he's going to drain his gas tank a lot faster. is Makhachev focuses heavy on just his style of fight, and when he's doing that, he's on autopilot. He's not thinking. But if Volkanovski can get Makhachev to use his brain power, get him thinking a little bit unsure of what goes on, then I'm interested to see it, because both these guys have gas tanks. And who outworks who, I do think all comes down to rounds 1 and 2. But what about you, Derick? If Volkanovski is able to defend those things, if he's able to keep this fight on the feet, or maybe a washing machine style of fight, do you see that being a problem for Makhachev in the later rounds?
I see it being a problem for both guys in the later rounds if they go washing machine style. The weird thing about Alexander Volkanovski is, one, he's built like a bowling ball, right? So he has like this low center of gravity. And when you find Islam Makhachev do the little sneaky trips or picking up and ready to dump him, Volkanovski never gets to a hip and stays on a hip. He gets to a hip and then his foot somehow just like balances himself out so he can get back up to his feet, or he can negate the immediate takedown and control. That's what worries me, is because that's going to make Makhachev work harder for each takedown that he gets. And what have we seen, AJ? Control really doesn't mean much, especially in this type of matchup, if Makhachev can't either finish him with a choke, put a real choke attempt on there, or more importantly, ground and pound, man. So that's what I think we're going to see a little bit more activity there, which then leads to more fatigue in the end of the fight. So let's talk about those types of moments. Cardio, clearly, it's an unknown right now because we don't know how Volkanovski is going to be on, just 12 days notice. But let's talk about the clinch. Right? The clinch generally favors Islam Makhachev. He changes takedowns from the clinch, does a lot of nasty work from there. I think we're going to see a heavier striking emphasis from Alexander Volkanovski headed into this matchup to really make Makhachev earn it on the feet. Said, I'm not going to let you just hold me down. We're coming to fight. Aggressiveness out of both camps. Who comes out more aggressive? Who comes out more confident, AJ?
Ooh, aggressiveness. I think it's going to be Volkanovski. And I think the reason I think that is because he's going to need to put that pressure and that pace on Makhachev to start this fight, to really put the work in for dividends later on. Mm-hmm. Now, confidence going into this one, I think that's going to be Makhachev with this. You already have one. You're the champ. He's coming in to fight you. Yeah, sure, you had to accept the fight on 12 days notice as well, but you still have everybody. You're on home turf. People are going to be chanting your name. We'll see if that confidence plays off into a little bit of hubris. A lot of the times, home field advantage is not an actual advantage. What do you think, Derick? Do you think the nerves of the situation are going to have any impact on Makhachev? Personally, I don't think so, but you never know. It does come into play sometimes.
It's tough because when you got everybody rooting for you, I mean, what does Derek Lewis say? It's never really a home crowd type situation when you're fighting at home. It's more pressure. You're nervous. A lot of people eyes on you. People you know you're going to have to see after the fight, right? But I don't think that these fighters are at that level anymore, man. I think these guys have far surpassed that point of their career. But the more important part is that I actually think Volkanovski is the guy that comes in much more confident than Makhachev, simply because he felt him. He saw as the smaller guy, when you look massive size difference, big, small, strong guy, right? The point is that he's able to hold his own. And when you know that you can hold your own against this guy, he has to bring you something different to the table that's going to surprise you. If you can make Islam Makhachev not fight his style, I see that as nothing but a benefit for Volkanovski. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely. And that's what I'm talking about, for Volkanovski, having to switch up, not necessarily his style of fight, but make Islam switch up his style of fight. So that way he can start to use that brain power and start dripping into that gas tank. Because at least, and by all means, don't let what the media shows you fool you a little bit. They're putting highlights of Alexander Volkanovski working the fence, working the takedown defense on there. Mm-hmm. I do think that's going to be a big pivotal moment, especially coming from the clinch like we were talking about before. But if Volkanovski is able to keep this on the feet, I think there might be a chance for an upset here, Derick. I'm not calling for it, but I'm saying it is in the realm of opportunity.
This is too close of a fight to count anybody out in this one. The last point that I want you to actually give me a take on right here is when it comes down to it, once again, if it's a repeat of the first fight, what wins? Is it the volume or is it the control?
I think it's going to be the volume, Derick. I think that's what's going to win this one. Volume and damage. At least of what we've seen lately from the judges, control can get thrown out. It can get a little wishy-washy. And honestly, Derick, I'm a little more nervous if Makhachev is not able to finish this fight and it goes to the judges. I'm not saying there's any shadiness with the judges. Who knows what's going on in Abu Dhabi with them, who they're picking. But a trilogy for this kind of fight does seem to make a lot of sense for the UFC. I don't know if it'll happen, but I do think Makhachev needs a finish in this fight.
It's tough too, man, because if Volkanovski loses, you can argue, does he get another chance at that greatness of being a double champ? Do you get 3 shots at the 155-pound belt? It's like, you better defend your title first, bro, before we start jumping in there. But with that being said, man, let's talk about the odds to kind of close this one out. I believe at close for the first fight, Makhachev closed as like a minus 400 favorite. I have these minus 260 plus 210 comeback for Volkanovski steady. His line has not really moved this week. Is this, I don't want to call it free money, but are you saying this is a steal of a price for Islam Makhachev from a money line perspective? Or do you say Volkanovski showed us how close he could make it the last time, plus 210, we're jumping on that train? What do you think?
Man, I do think this is, what's the word I'm looking at? Yeah, like you said, easy money. Free, not free money from Islam Makhachev, but it is one of the best prices you're going to get at him, especially if he wins this fight. But to say that caveat, folks, plus 210 for the champ, or for the 145-pound champ in Volkanovski, yeah, throw some money on that all day long. You got $20 all day long. This is too close of a fight not to at least put the money there and have an opportunity to win you some cash. Plus 210. I don't think you're ever going to see that for Volkanovski again. What about you, Derick? I mean, and obviously the money line, I want your prick on that one, but also, what do you think, man? Plus 300 submission, that to me sounds very juicy, but the odds makers at that plus 185 also see this go in the distance. What do you think?
On one hand, you want to say, oh, is Islam Makhachev the destroyer type cat? Yeah, this time he says he's going to choke him, so he's going to choke him. I love that price. I don't love that price. The reason why is because we saw Alexander Volkanovski. We've seen the grit against one of the best submission artists in the game, Brian Ortega. I just think it's a different challenge to waste energy to try to submit Volkanovski if you don't have it. If you have it, different story. Why not? I always say, club, or not club and sub, but just straight ground and pound, right? Just go for the sub, open up the opportunity for ground and pound, finish it that way if you can do that. But I will say this is the real talk right here from me. Folks, I picking Islam Makhachev and still for this fight, but I will not lie to you. I did sprinkle $15 on Alexander Volkanovski at plus 210. Not going to win you a ton of money. You can't not sprinkle a little something, man. So if you want to throw $5, you want to throw $2 and add it into a parlay for something, like, feel free. I wouldn't, but I'll say you throw a little sprinkle. But with that being said, AJ, Islam Makhachev, and still for me, I'm going to go point, man. I'm going to go plus 185. How do you see it?
Ooh, I'm also going and still with Islam Makhachev, Derick, but I'm actually going to take the TKO. Oh. I think you're right. The submission might be a little hard, and we've seen, like you said, in deep. You were there in person when you saw Alexander Volkanovski get out of Brian Ortega's submission attempts. I think he has the same kind of grit, but if Makhachev is able to work the ground and pound, hopefully we'll see if my pick ends up right. But I'm still going and still.
All right, Bloody Water Podcast consensus pick and still Islam Makhachev in Abu Dhabi. Fantastic. All right, opening us up. Short notice, but what a matchup, man. It's like, this is something we were dreaming about at 170 pounds. Instead, we get it at 185 pounds after Usman has suffered 2 losses back-to-back for the first time in his career. So it's not quite the way that we envisioned it, but people are excited nonetheless because, first off, take some real cojones for Kamaru Usman to say 12 days, let's do it. Hamzat Chimaev, the boogeyman? Yeah, all right, we'll find out, right? But then you have to take into consideration here, AJ, pre-fight news that we cannot not discuss. Rumored injury for the already destroyed knees of Kamaru Usman. He's training open workout with Justin Gaethje, does a little toss on him, and then rumors are, they say they isolated the audio and did all that. I listened to it. I don't know what I heard clearly, but something along the lines of something popped. And then right after they just started, they concluded the open workout. How much are you reading into this, AJ? Are you massive, ring the bell, ring the sirens alerts for Kamaru Usman injury against Hamzat Chimaev?
It's an interesting one, Derick, because I try my best not to fall into that hype, because you're right. I watched that little snippet over and over and over again, trying to isolate it. Then you have the greatness of Uncle Chael going in there and saying, bro, nobody heard that. And it wasn't even true. I can't say that because then both of us would be lying. If Uncle Chael doesn't hear it, who knows? But then what worries me, Derick, Usman came out after, releases his own video, says, y'all don't know what you're talking about. And he claims that after that happened, they went back and hit mitts. That's not the case, Derick. They actually concluded their training session. So yes, it does give me a little bit of hesitation. And because of all the back and forth, all the unsureties that are presented with it, with both sides of the media, I guess you could say, saying opposite, it's weird. It's weird. I don't know what to think because, yeah, you're right. But for a long time, Usman would tell everybody he had to walk backwards downstairs so his knees wouldn't hurt. as both of us can attest, Derek, and both of us with bad knee, at least one knee each, it sucks. And if you have any little bit of damage in there, one little thing can turn the tide. And Usman, with dealing with how much pain he's been in the past, I think he's the kind of fighter that just pushes right through it. Who knows if it's actually injured or not, or even maybe just slightly injured. I think it comes into play, Derek. What about you?
Yeah, I think you got to commend Kamaru Usman, because you're never going to say, oh yeah, my knee got messed up. You can't say that. Medically, you cannot say it. You want to fight. You made the trip to Abu Dhabi. You're not canceling at this point. You're already there. You're too invested. But then again, Usman does seem like a very, very durable individual who can withstand a ton, like in terms of pain tolerance, right? So if it's not something that's like a foregone conclusion of this is going to impact his performance, then it's something that you shouldn't worry about too much. But I'm not going to lie to you. Once again, if money is on the line, we take it into consideration. And for that, I'm taking a heavier lean on Khamzat Chimaev here. Now, if I was looking at this how I originally did, as just a pure fight, I still didn't really like it for Kamaru Usman. Oldest you've ever been. You're moving up a weight class. Yeah, you're a big welterweight, but Khamzat Chimaev is a bigger middleweight than you are at this established weight class. But this is the thing that gives me the most pause here, AJ, and I want your opinion. 3 rounds. That does not favor Kamaru Usman, in my opinion. Chimaev is such a fast starter, and it's not like Usman has the advantage of, I'm breaking you rounds 3, 4, 5. Maybe round 3. But round 1 and 2, you better be on it, buddy, because if you're not, even though he is the great Kamaruddin Usman, the Nigerian nightmare, nobody is not susceptible to getting slammed on your head, your face elbowed in, choked out, something like that. Let's see if you could stave him off. But how concerned are you about 3 rounds?
Horrified, Derek. If I was an Usman bettor on this one, I would be praying for 5 rounds. Notoriously, Kamaru Usman is that slow starter. He does have the power to get it done, but he likes to feel out his opponents a little bit. He likes to go in there and kind of mix it up and get things going. And you can't do that against a Khamzat Chimaev style of fighter, the smash style of fighter, the one that's literally shouting to the mountaintops that he's here to kill everybody and drink their blood and eat their soul. Whatever the saying was, this guy is an absolute animal. It worries me a lot, Derek. Do you think we're going to see the classic Khamzat just blitz, get to the double, get to the hips, slam you on the ground and beat you up? I don't know if Kamaru Usman is going to allow him to do that, but also at the same point, I don't know if he has a choice.
From the perspective of how Chimaev fights, I feel like he is. Now, I don't think that that's going to be the most favorable style to beat Usman, who has, a 97% takedown defense in his UFC tenure. Ridiculous, right? But then again, Khamzat Chimaev is not coming in here and doing the stereotypical, I'm going to come in, I'm going to set up my shot. He's like blasting through people. He's saying, I will exert all of my energy to pick you up off of your feet, walk you to my corner, and then slam you on your head. I think that Usman could stave off some of that, but I do also think that if this fight gets past the first round, that's when Usman comes into play. That's when things get scary if you're a Chimaev bettor. If it gets out of the first round, you got some cause for concern. But then again, if this turns into Gilbert Burns versus Chimaev all over again, and we see a striking contest, I love Usman with that newfound jab that he has under Trevor Whitman. And guess what? Not only Trevor Whitman is his corner, but also Henry Hooft is as well. So you got 2 coaches who have been the supreme factors of the resurgence, or I guess the dominance he had as a champion. How does that play into everything right here, man? You got that expertise, you got the legacy of being a champion, and Chimaev, even though he's the boogeyman, he's not nearly as tested as Kamaru Usman. So it's almost disrespectful that he's a plus 230 favorite, but we understand why. So give me your take on that.
It plays into it massively, Derek, and I'm glad you brought up that Derick fight, because that's what I think this, if Usman is able, with this caveat, if Usman is able to defend the takedown, have Chimaev thinking a little bit, worried a little bit about eating that jab and then eating the right hand that comes behind it, then we're worried a little bit. And that's when I think this fight changes up drastically. We saw how Gilbert Burns was able to stave off the beast that is Khamzat Chimaev. And arguably, Usman is not necessarily a more technical striker. Maybe some could argue that, but he does have a clear sense of concentration. And that's what I really like about Usman in this. If he can keep this one standing, man, we might see a Jorge Masvidal style, a knockout, especially with the power and the force that Chimaev brings forward. If all Usman needs is just one nice timing right on the button, who knows? It could turn the whole MMA situation upside down. I don't see it happening, but it is in the realm of possibility for sure.
Usman says, game plan, win this 185-pound belt, go back down to 170, take his old belt back, and then sail off into the sunset. My biggest concern, honestly, is Usman is giving very much retirement vibes in his pre-fight pressers, man. He's talking about, I just want to experience this a couple more times before I walk away from the sport. And you never want to hear that when you're fighting a young, hungry dude who, as you mentioned, screaming from the rooftops, I'm here to kill everybody. So listen, man, this is just how I'm going to close this one out. I think Khamzat Chimaev deserves a little more respect given the knee situation with Kamaru Usman. But then again, you cannot count out Kamaru Usman with confidence given that this is MMA. It's steep. The declines are steep. And we don't know if this is a true decline. Maybe Leon Edwards stylistically was just a bad matchup for him right there. But then again, they fought 3 times. Edwards won 2 of 3. Who knows? I'm going to take Khamzat Chimaev here, AJ, and I'm not hedging on Kamaru Usman personally. I'm just going full max bet. Khamzat Chimaev, throwing him in a couple parlays. I think it's a good price. My question is, do you like any of these props?
Ooh, Derek, I actually like that submission plus 325. I do think a ground and pound, club and sub, something like that is in the works for Khamzat Chimaev because he needs to make a splash, and I think he's going to be hunting it. But again, we always say, if you're hunting that finish, you're not going to win a decision. And that's when Kamaru Usman shines the most, is in those long, drag-out, war style of fights. I'm not hedging anything for the Kamaru Usman side. I'm with you, Derek. I'm taking Khamzat Chimaev in this one. I just, honest opinion, folks, I just hope we don't see an injury because I hope that's not a knee problem. I want to see a banger of a fight right here.
I heard that. All right. Another Bloody Water podcast consensus pick, Khamzat Chimaev. And then let's keep it pushing. Magomed Ankalaev, man. You come off of a fight against Jan Blachowicz, and now you get Johnny Walker. So it's a little bit of a step down in competition. But AJ, I would be lying to you if I said I was not worried about this matchup. Johnny Walker, in my opinion, is resurging his career. I had written him off at one point. I said he doesn't belong in the top 15 of fighters. He's too uncontrollable, too crazy of a fighter, and that leads to his downfall. Well, guess what? We saw a little bit of composure from him. Moment you see composure for Johnny Walker, you realize athletically, he's a tough matchup for anybody, bro. You have to put him on his back, and you cannot allow him to use his athleticism to win the fight. And if there's any guy that can do it, I would argue it is Magomed Ankalaev. But my first question to you is, we saw Ankalaev be susceptible, to leg kicks, right? So given that Ankalaev was susceptible to leg kicks in his last fight, Johnny Walker can stand his ground, just kick away at Ankalaev's legs until he forces himself to shoot in and close the distance. That's when you catch him with the knee. That's when you drop the elbows on him. Is that what we're seeing right here, or is Ankalaev way too high level and technical of a grappler to fall into those basic traps?
No, I think that's exactly the plan for Johnny Walker going into this one. And to be completely transparent with you folks, I was almost hedging my bets on Johnny Walker for this one. I almost threw some money on there just because Johnny Walker is that resurgence of that fighter. We've seen him be the caterpillar turned into the butterfly that keeps hammers in his hands. And this dude can fight in multiple different ways. And that's why I like the style that Johnny Walker's bringing to this fight. Now, is Magomed Ankalaev a very technical grappler where he's able to avoid that stuff? Yes, all day long. We've seen him prove it, and we've even seen him eat leg kicks and still be able to implement his strategy. Now, what does worry me is when Johnny Walker's blasting leg kick after leg kick after leg kick, and the next thing you see is a front kick right in your face. That worries me a little bit because of the athleticism and the speed that Johnny Walker presents. I think that right there, that speed, that athleticism, the unknown that Johnny Walker can turn a switch on, that I think is going to be the biggest problem that Magomed Ankalaev is facing in this fight. What about you, Derek? What X factors does Johnny Walker present that's going to be that catalyst that might get him the dub?
I think Johnny Walker poses a lot of different threats, in all honesty. One, we have to talk about that reach advantage. My man has like a 7-inch reach advantage on Magomed Ankalaev. And I think the biggest threat that he poses is if he stays within himself and he does not force the action, he does not find himself in a position where he gets his back taken, where he flails himself into some like terrible, awkward position. I think that is what we need to see if we're going to see a Johnny Walker victory. Now, what I don't want to see is what we have seen, for an example, Johnny Walker versus Nikita Krylov. There we go. That's the person that I'm thinking of. Bro, that's a very high level matchup, and it's very similar to this matchup right here. Nikita Krylov was able to put Johnny Walker on his back multiple times and hold him there. That has to be the key to victory for Magomed Ankalaev. Not sitting, trading, standing, and trying to kickbox with him, but control him, put damage on him, and submit him or knock him out. but it worries me. I think of all of the plus money dogs we have here, Johnny Walker, in the oddest of ways, he's the one who gives me the most pause, and it's scary because Magomed Ankalaev, AJ, how long have I been saying dark horse of the division, future champion? Johnny Walker, the guy that I wrote off, he's going to be the guy to beat him? Like, come on. What do you think, bro? I mean, am I onto something right here, or am I overthinking this?
Oh no, you're absolutely onto something, Derek. That and for the sake of the competition, I almost went with Johnny Walker just to see if I could sneak one up on you, but it's too close to be playing those kind of games right now. So that's why I went with Ankalaev. I do think he's a smarter bet, but I do think also at the same point, Johnny Walker is probably the best live dog we have on this card because of that switch that I was talking about that he can flip. He can go from being composed, calculated, cool to being a wild man hitting you with spinning back fists, hammers. Who knows? Because Johnny Walker is that wild man. It's going to be an interesting one. I do think the favor does go to Magomed Ankalaev. I'm hoping for the dog match though, right here, brother.
Now, I've been writing down, just like as the week goes on, I'm just like kind of looking through the props and just seeing what stands out to me. Like when I take a look at the lines, I write them all out, and then I look at it and I say, okay, what is that doing right there? One of them was plus 600 Magomed Ankalaev submission. I said, they got no faith that he's able to take Johnny Walker down, take his back, submit him, arm triangle him, arm bar, whatever, right? They don't have any confidence. The odds makers, there's something that I don't know. Why do we favor, not we, but the odds makers favor plus 140 TKO for Ankalaev over that submission? And do you see free money hanging out right there for us?
I actually do, Derek. I didn't expect the plus 600 for the submission to come out in this one because of the ground game I think that Magomed possesses. We might see a submission here. I personally, if I'm just pulling at strings right here, the reason that's a plus 140 TKO prop for Ankalaev is because of the name he carries and the perception about the Russian style of fighters, the smash style of fighters. So I think that goes into a lot of that. It might be something the odds makers know that we don't, but I do see a lot of value in that plus 600. Johnny Walker might be the only MMA fighter, and folks, this was in his pre-UFC career. He might be the only fighter to get knocked out 3 times in a fight, but this is a different fighter that Johnny Walker is nowadays. We'll see if he can survive the knockout. I really like that plus 600 submission.
That's funny. I was hoping you were going to bring that up. Yes, that is true. Yeah, it was knocked out 3 times in the same fight. So incredible durability right there. But I also think the other reason why, and if I'm being honest, is like if you study a little bit, man, Walker's never been submitted, not in the UFC at least. So it's definitely kind of like a good point on why. Let me just take a look and make sure that I'm accurate right there. He has Klidson Abreu submitted him. Besides Klidson Abreu submitting him, he hasn't been submitted, right? He's getting knocked out or losing a decision. I still think that that's a very intriguing prop that I would lay a little bit of money on just to see. But I feel much more confident just in a pure Magomed Ankalaev victory. Minus 350. I don't know why, AJ. It just feels too steep to me. It feels like this should be closer odds. And when I'm looking at the live odds right now, it hasn't changed. Minus 350, plus 275. Come back for Johnny Walker. Give me Magomed Ankalaev. I don't feel great about it, but I do think that if his plans for him to be the champion of the division, he has to win this fight. And I think that he's gonna have what it takes. So I got Ankalaev. AJ, how you see it?
Yeah, I see it with you, Derek. I like Ankalaev in this fight. I do think in order to make the splash he wants to make, he's going to need to get a finish. But I respect Johnny Walker just a little too much right now. We'll see if I eat my words in the post show, folks. Tune in to catch it. But I'm going Ankalaev plus 240 decision.
Awesome. All right. And right before we move on to the next bout, folks, friendly reminder, you made it this far in the program. We love you. We appreciate you. And don't forget to tell a friend to tell a friend. This is your favorite fighter's favorite fight show. So smash the subscribe button. Click it like right now. Like if you haven't clicked it, just go ahead and click that button. And might as well click the link to share. Put it on Twitter. Put it on Facebook. Facebook. AJ, bro, is this 2008 Facebook? My bad. Put it somewhere. Put it on TikTok, whatever, bro. And get that one out there. And while you're at it, my man AJ also does have his own YouTube channel. So go to Santa Fe Bomber across all platforms. Give my man the sub. Do the thing. AJ, anything? You ready to move on?
Let's get it, Derek. I won't bore him too much. I'll save it for the end, brother.
I love that. All right. Ikram Aliskerov versus Warley Alves. AJ, we have found ourselves, once again, another short notice opportunity right here to a degree. Nasruddin Imavov was the original opponent, right? So that's why I was really hyped up for this matchup. I'm like, oh my God. All right. We got this dude who came in, smashed Phil Hawes. Now he immediately jumps into that upper echelon in the division. And then you like I said, Warlley Alves steps in. Now, if there's a game dude who can test Ikram Aliskerov, I do believe it's Warlley Alves, especially because when Aliskerov got that TKO over Phil Hawes, it was so unexpected because everyone said, oh, here's this grappler who's going to come in and he's going to wrestle Phil Hawes up and that's how he's going to win the fight. He said, no need for takedowns. I'm going to come in and we're going to trade. And he got the job done. You can't trade against Warlley Alves, AJ. That is not a smart game plan. So I'm really high on Aliskerov here at minus 600, which is ridiculous for a dude who with one fight in the UFC. I'm really high on him if he sticks to the game plan that I need him to stick to win, which is grapple and finish. That's it. Does he stick to the game plan, AJ, or does he get excited and say, we're going to just stand and trade again? Let's get it.
I unfortunately, Derek, think he's going to get excited. When you have such a clean 1-2 down the pipe and it doesn't even look like you put that much effort, but you drop Megatron Hawes like it's nothing, like he's butter on a flapjack, Derek, that worries me a little bit because you're going to be having that same kind of confidence. And if you know anything about Warlley Alves, you know this dude brings it from the jump. And because of that, he has gas tank issues. So if this fight makes it out of the first 3 minutes, I really like Aliskerov's odds of winning this fight, especially if he sticks to that game plan we're talking about, because I do think that's the best one for him. Let Warlley Alves, come at you, get to those hips, take him down, drain that gas tank that he has. But, I mean, we all seen it, time and time again, man. Grapplers fall in love with a knockout because it feels so good, to blast somebody just like that. And if Aliskerov is going to be doing that, especially at the beginning of rounds, it gives me massive pause for concern, especially at a minus 600, man. Going against a pro like Warlley Alves, that's kind of a little bit ridiculous in my own opinion. What do you think, Derek? Can he avoid the excitement of that knockout?
I'm hoping so, man. Like I said, it's just minus 600. Like, you better be a world beater. And like, I hope that I'm wrong. And I hope that he's like, yeah, he should have been a minus 1,000 favorite. Like, I hope he proves that. But Warlley Alves, I've watched too much of him. I've seen him 2-time tested. And once again, Ikram Aliskerov has to get this fight to the ground for me to feel confident in dropping any money on him at minus 600, folks. Just to get ahead of this, I do not advise you to drop any bet on a money line for Aliskerov. If you're going to find value, you throw him into a parlay or you assess one of these props. So let's assess one of the props here. What does it mean to you, AJ, that these TKO odds plus 125, submission prop plus 195 on Aliskerov's side are so prevalent, given that Warlley Alves has only been taken down 4 times in 14 UFC fights, and he's 2-2 in that span? Like, how does that read to you?
Yeah, to me, Derek, it reads that the odds makers have a bunch of faith in Aliskerov in this one, especially because maybe those play into the later rounds, right? If Warlley Alves makes it out of if Aliskerov makes it past Warlley Alves's brutish force in that first round, and he gets to round 2 and round 3, those TKO and submission props start looking a little more juicy to me because of the gas tank issues that Warlley Alves presents. But to be honest, Derek, they seem a little too good. Like that, like to me, it almost seems worrisome that they're so low, or that it's so likelihood, at least, that the odds makers are presenting. It gives me a lot of pause for concern. Derek, what about you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel the same way. And I want to just give a reference point for those who aren't familiar with Warlley Alves' career. This dude has fought guys, like real guys, right? Let me just name off a couple. Nicholas Dalby, Jeremiah Wells, Munir Lazez, Randy Brown, James Krause, Kamaru Usman, Brian Barberena, Colby Covington, Nordine Taleb, Alan Joban. Like, he's fought some guys, man. I'm not saying that he's won all of those fights. He's lost a majority of those fights. But the point is, when you're that time tested, Ikram Aliskerov, listen, man, I get it. A lot of hype coming in. You got one fight in the UFC. I hope that this is not the parlay buster right here. I will just say that. So give me Ikram Aliskerov. I have no pick on how he gets the job done, folks, but I'm just going to go with him. Money line. I'm not betting on the money line, but that's the guy I'm choosing to win. How do you see it, AJ?
I see it the exact same way as you, Derek. And folks, I'm right there with him just because that TKO and that submission prop is just a little too odd for me. It doesn't make sense in my own brain, so I'm rocking with just Aliskerov across it. And like Derek said, don't lay any money on that money line bet. If you want to do a parlay, by all means, but I'm hoping this isn't the parlay buster right here.
That's right. And then I'm imagining folks would know this knowledge if you're a fan of this program or you're watching this at all, but minus 600 means that you have to bet $600 to win $100, which, like I said, Got to show me a little bit more before we start going there, man. But a dude who's normally a massive favorite, Said Nurmagomedov, coming off of a loss to Jonathan Martinez, and he gets a dog right here, man. Muin Gafurov. Now, this is a guy where I feel like a lot of people come into this like, who? Okay, Nurmagomedov by whatever he wants. I'm going to urge you to reconsider that thought, folks, because while I do think Said Nurmagomedov is a generational talent, I really do, man. His striking is so beautiful, so crisp, so technical, so powerful. You got a guy standing across from him in Gafurov who, out of all of the dogs I've watched in MMA, I don't know if I've seen one who is on par with the pace that he puts on and the ability to just go out there and just put on a dog fight. You know what I mean? And I know I'm reusing that word so much is because when you train with Merab Dvalishvili, when you're used to a dude who's just bringing nothing but hammers at you all day long, striking, spinning techniques, grappling, takedowns, wrestling, he's got it all. Is it enough though, AJ, to overcome the technical prowess of a Said Nurmagomedov?
Personally, Derek, I think this is an absolute mountain of a task for Gafurov on this one, especially because of not lack of concentration that we saw in his last fight, but almost too much perception in what's going on in the fight. This guy's looking to call timeouts. He's looking to do things instead of being supremely focused on the task at hand. And that's what worries me. If you're going to lose just a sliver of focus against Said Nurmagomedov, you're going to eat a question mark kick every single time. And that right there, especially, as new as Gafurov is into the UFC, and I'm not saying new into MMA because this dude's a true killer for sure, has a lot of potential in the UFC, but Said Nurmagomedov, is that generational talent you're talking about and has all the background to be able to defend the stuff that Gafurov presents. We'll see if time actually unfolds that way. I'm a little curious in this one, Derek, is the way I want to phrase it, because Gafurov has all the X's and O's to be that kind of guy to take down a Said Nurmagomedov, but can he do it on the day of? What do you think Gafurov's best point or best plan of action is to win this fight?
Make it ugly. Make it ugly. Make it unconventional. Do not let Said Nurmagomedov. Ooh, let's start that one on over. Let's not let Said Nurmagomedov stand at range, be technical, and pick you apart from distance. And here's the thing, man. Muin Gafurov, as you had mentioned, he's not as UFC tested, but he is more MMA tested. He has more MMA fights, right? He's 18-5. I think Said is 17-3, right? Coming off being an LFA champion, came into the UFC, and yes, does it give you pause to say, wow, my man lost to John Castaneda? I mean, shout out to Sexy Mexi, you feel me? But like Said Nurmagomedov is not John Castaneda, right? So like I get that. But on the other hand, the thing that he has to do to beat Said Nurmagomedov is exactly the game plan he used against Castaneda. You push him up against the cage. Don't let him get off the spinning techniques. You try to ragdoll him up and down, up and down. And then once we start getting to that round 2, round 3, what have we seen from Nurmagomedov kind of time and time again? He tends to tire a little bit. The dirtier the fight gets, the longer the fight goes. And if Jonathan Martinez is able to just purely clinch you up against the cage without you being able to escape, broken nose or not, because he did deal with some nose issues right there, Gafurov trains with Merab Dvalishvili, the machine. Like this guy for 15 minutes, well, I'll say for a strong, maybe 11 and a half, 12 minutes, no foot off the gas. We're just pure pedal to the metal right here. That's the reason why I see value in Gafurov, and that's why I think if you look at the previous line history of Said Nurmagomedov, when do you see a guy who is as untested to the casual fan as Muin Gafurov only be a plus 190 dog? Like, how often do you see that?
Basically never, Derek. There might be a handful of times we can actually clinch up and say that because Gafurov, man, is that time-tested one. And to all the non-casuals, all the hardcores, there we go, all the hardcore fans out here that actually watch and that actually know, this is the perfect matchup for Gafurov to come in and really make a big splash on Said, especially because he's kind of not necessarily faltered in his career, but not necessarily also had that rocket ship stardom that we expected a name of Nurmagomedov to have. And it's because he's a whole different style of fighter, man. If Nurmagomedov is able to defend the takedowns, cut the angles, bounce out, control the range, hit him with some kicks, get Gafurov thinking, and then kick the legs, slow down the pace, slow down the pressure, I think we're in for a hell of a fight. But still, to this point, folks, this is why this is a contested fight, because it's so close right there. This one's going to be a fun one, Derek. What you think?
That's right. I will say there's a couple of points that I want to hit on about this matchup specifically, and I just want your take. So I'm going to quick fire these at you, and you just give me some thoughts. First, left hook. Muin Gafurov uses it from the rear stance. He uses it from the lead stance. He combos it up. But everything that he throws is like the complete opposite of Nurmagomedov. It's wild, it's loopy, it's not straight, and it's unconventional. Now, Saeed, on the other hand, being so sharp and technical, do you think that he's just going to leave too many openings and Nurmagomedov is just going to pick him apart?
Absolutely, Derek. We always say it, the fastest point is that straight line. Saeed Nurmagomedov has not only straight lines, but I said the question mark kick. Looks like it's coming straight. Next thing you know, it hits you in the temple.
Both of these fighters, believe it or not, are incredibly well-versed in spinning techniques, athletic, just weird, odd things that hit you that shouldn't hit you, right? But if Nurmagomedov's power and his consistency and his volume wanes off rounds 2, rounds 3, what type of impact is that going to play? The reason that I ask you this is because the Gafurov loss to John Castaneda is a little different than what you saw on paper. So for an example, he lost a point in the second round. He got a point deducted for a headbutt, right? First round, he got rocked. And then in the third round, he slowed down cardio-wise, but he did outstrike Castaneda by 20 significant strikes. So my thing here is that if he can get up in that tally on Nurmagomedov, maybe Nurmagomedov landed the more flashy oohs and ahs, but if he could rack up those points, get a couple takedowns, rack up a little control time, even if he gets dropped, do you see it being a really like a split decision type ending, or do you think it's going to be definitive one way or the other?
No, I think this one's going to be a split decision type ending because of not the unsureties, not the X factors, but just the way Nurmagomedov as well as a Gafurov fight can play out. It can end up being completely unpredictable, especially if Gafurov is able to feel himself, get in that flow state and really work some things. I see a split decision possibly.
That's why I think that this is going to be a rodeo of a fight, folks. This is why it's opening up the main card, and this is why I think Gafurov is a live dog, but I will be honest with you, I am taking a flyer here in the name of competition. I want a victory here. We cannot just go in with equal picks. Somebody has to get an edge up on the week, and I'm hoping to make that happen. I'm going to pick Muin Gafurov. I am going with that plus 450 decision right there, but what I like more than anything is just plus 190, dog odds. That's my dog on this card, and I'm rolling heavy, baby. AJ, how do you see it?
Oh, I'm going Nurmagomedov, folks, and I'm actually, just like we said before, I think this one might come down to a split decision. I'm taking that plus 200 decision for my boy Saeed Nurmagomedov.
All right, and that is your UFC 294 main card. If you're ready to make some money, I hope you took some notes. But folks, we are running short on time, so you know we need to jump into the most coveted section of this program that is going to be the sleepers, where the unknowns of today become the stars of tomorrow. We're going to talk about it. Let's get into it, AJ.
It's time for some fight night.
If you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
All right, so again, these are the sleepers. We're just going to highlight a couple of quick fights that we need you to pay attention to if you want to be that guy at Buffalo Wild Wings, at the bar, at your buddy's house when he's throwing the fight watch party who says, listen, these guys are going to blow up. And in a couple of years, they're the champions. And now they're like, oh my God, man, are you Nostradamus? What do you know? Nah, you just listen to the Bloody Water podcast. We got you covered. AJ, let's start off with you, my man, because you got a fun one. In all honesty, if there wasn't my sleeper that was like almost too easy of a cheat code, this is one that I definitely would have gone with. Talk to the people, my friend. How do you see it?
Cedric Dumas versus Abu Azaitar, folks. Yeah, either of these guys could make a massive run in the UFC. They could be the stars of tomorrow. But why I'm highlighting this fight is pure violence and fun. You need to tune in. You need to not blink. You need to tell everybody in the bar, hush up, because someone's going to sleep. And that's why it's a sleeper fight for me this week, man. Both of these fighters need to make a bigger name, need to really show people that they are going to be that future star in the UFC. But at the same point, the way they get that done is by bringing what got them to the dance, and that's absolute violence. This one's going to be a fun one, folks. I mean, I'll keep it short and sweet for you. That's why I like this one, because it's going to be a fun fight. You need to tune in. Derek, what do you think? What about yours?
I think that that's going to be a banging fight right here, because for Cedric Dumas, right, this dude gets all of his work done on the feet. Abu Azaitar, he chooses to keep the fight on the feet too. I think someone's going to bed, and I think it's going to be a fun night there in Abu Dhabi. But I got a sleeper here, folks, and listen, if you don't know who these guys are, you're about to find out. This is a cheat code. It shouldn't be a sleeper if you're an actual MMA fan. Bruno Silva versus Shara Bullet. Now, let me just talk to you folks about Shara Bullet. Probably the most hyped up prospect coming into the UFC in a long time. My man has got one eye, fantastic kickboxing career, undefeated in mixed martial arts as it stands right now, and they call him the Bullet for a reason, whether it's grappling, whether he's knocking your face off. It does not matter. This dude is high level. His highlight tape goes on for days. Like, if you just type in YouTube, type in Shara Bullet highlights, you're going to be watching stuff for a long time. Now, when you're fighting a guy against like Bruno Silva, one of the very few fighters that actually took Alex Paeta to a decision, you know you're working with some fireworks. 20 knockouts on his resume. This is all it is here. Fantastic jiu-jitsu on both ends, knockout power on both ends. One of the most hyped prospects in Shara Bullet. And guess what? He opens up against Bruno Silva as like a minus 220 favorite. So AJ, that's where I need you to chime in right here. Shara Bullet, I get it. This dude is hyped up. We all want to see what he can do here. But Bruno Silva is no slouch. Fantastic hammer, not the best nail in the world. Does he deserve to be a plus 180 underdog against Shara Bullet here?
Does Bruno Silva deserve that, Derek? No, but I do think Shara Bullet does deserve the hype he has. And folks, if you're not convinced by Derek's passion over there, just go check the tape like he told you, because you're going to be watching about an hour and a half of just 2-second highlights. Shara Bullet has to get it done. Man, I'm excited because you're a sleeper pick right there, Derek, is the consummate sleeper because of the value it brings to the fight, the violence it's going to bring to the fight, and the potential for a star coming forward. Folks, you heard it here first. You need to tune in and watch this fight.
And one more time, AJ, bro, what? Look at this. My man is straight out of the UFC video game, some Kumite type shit right there, bro. Like, my man is ready to go. He's about to put it on somebody. Listen, man, this is going to be a fun fight, and it's the first fight of the night, so you got to love that. All right, AJ, like I said, we are super short on time right here, so we got a maximum of like 5 minutes to spare on some prelims, so let's just highlight a couple. I'm just going to throw some names out there, and I just want you to give me a quick tape. We don't need to go anything in depth. Victoria Dudikova versus Jinyu Fry. This is going to be the lone female fight on this card here in Abu Dhabi. Victoria Dudikova had her, I guess, impressive UFC victory. I mean, Estela Nunez like dislocated her elbow, so it wasn't really a fight. It lasted all of 30 seconds. Jinyu Fry, though, on the other hand, man, time tested, small strawweight. We know this. What do you think? Does she stand a chance to break the undefeated record of a Victoria Dudikova?
Yes. Does she stand a chance? Absolutely, Derek. I would be leaning Jinyu Fry, but something about Dudikova right there, man, just has me worried for this one. She has the size on her. It's going to be interesting how this fight plays out.
Dudikova is a massive favorite here, AJ. Like, it blows my mind to see it. She is a minus 550 favorite against Jinyu Fry, which I do not understand those numbers. Like, I would throw some on Jinyu Fry just for that. But then again, I have been let down many a time. Wagering specifically on Jinyu Fry. Love the prospect, love the talent, but it hurts my pocketbooks every time. So I don't have a play for you guys right there, but it's something to take into consideration. AJ, this is one that I'm sad we have to spend so little time on, but this could be fight of the night. Javid Basharat versus Victor Henry. Buried on the prelims. Nobody cares about it. Nobody's really thinking about it. Bantamweight banger right here. All I want to know from you is who comes out victorious.
Woo! It's hard not to choose Basharat, Derek. Victor Henry has a lot to offer him, though. I'm going with one of the Bash brothers, Basharat. What about you?
Love me some Victor Henry. Really think he can take the undefeated record of Basharat, but I'm going to rock with the Bash bro right there. Tim Elliott, Muhammad Makhachev, feature prelim right here. Brother, I mean, come on. We need to talk about it. My only real question to you here, because I don't know who's going to win this fight. I'm going to be completely frank with you. I like Makhachev. I like your prop lock. I'm confident in that. The thing that scares me is that Makhachev is coming off of a knee injury, and that's the big thing. That's my big takeaway. Of course, durability, he can fight through the pain, but bro, we got some jacked up knees, bro. You can't just bypass that. It's something that you got to take into consideration. And I can tell you, as I've been back in jiu-jitsu for about 2 weeks since tearing my LCL. You think a little bit, and you don't want to think. And I'm thinking. So, like, if I'm thinking, I'm imagining he's thinking. What do you think, AJ?
Man, this one, Derek, the only reason I made this prop lock for Muhammad Makhachev, because you're right, I don't know who's going to win this fight. I do see him being the more likely winner with this one, but it does take a lot of pause with that knee. If the going to distance wasn't minus money, that's what I would do, because this is going to be such a fun fight, man. I still got Makhachev in this one, though.
Bro, he's like a minus 550 favorite. So obviously, like, the people think he's going to be victorious. I'm just like, yo, my knee hurts just looking at his knee. So I'll just say that. All right, last couple ones, man. Nathaniel Wood versus Muhammad Naimov. Now, if you know about Muhammad Naimov, this is another one where people are probably like, who is this guy? Well, he is in the UFC, right? He did fight against Jamie Malarkey, and he got the job done, man. Finished Malarkey, which is like super impressive. Now, Nathaniel Wood is one of the most impressive dudes that we have on the roster right now, especially at 145 pounds. Is this going to be another step in the right direction for Nathaniel Wood, or do we see Muhammad Naimov make a fantastic start to his UFC run?
I like Nathaniel Wood in this fight, Derek, just because of the time-tested nature, and we've seen him in bad spots and come out victorious from it. But Naimov, nothing to sleep on, folks. You need to pay attention to this one as well. I'm leaning a little bit more towards Wood, but it's not a heavy lean. What about you?
Yeah, I like Nathaniel Wood here. I think Naimov, all these guys, bro, coming up, these UAE type cats, like, these guys are good, bro. But I think Nathaniel Wood is really, really good. So I'll just leave it there. And all right, folks, that we just cut it, AJ. We just cut it. We made it. We made it to the outro, folks. Listen, we didn't give you the whole main card breakdown. We highlighted some sleepers and we talked about some prelim matchups. What else can you ask for? You can't, but we can ask something from you. And AJ, I want you to make that ask. What are we asking the people?
We're asking you folks to hit that subscribe button and share it with your friends, but not for the normal reasons we normally say, right? Yeah, we're going to win you some money week in and week out. We're going to make you look like the big dog in the bar. Everybody asking you what your takes are on the fights. We know where they're coming from. They're over here, but take the credit. You know, that's what we're doing over here. But the reason I'm asking extra for you on this one is because this is a big card, man. Eyes are going to be on it left and right. The scope of the UFC is at its biggest point right now. And because of that, multiple people are going to be looking at us. If you're winning some money, please do me a favor. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and share it to your friend, because soon enough, we're going to be at that 1,000. We're going to be at that 10,000. And you know who's going to be looking the best when you're sitting there 5 years down the road and you've been talking about the Bloody Water podcast that entire time? That's what's going to be doing the biggest deal for you right there, folks. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, share it with your friend, be a good friend, and let's all go win some money this week.
I couldn't have said it better myself, folks. You got everything that you needed, plus a little bit more. That's going to be it for us this week. Catch us on Monday for the post show, breaking down the madness of UFC 294. You got to love to see it. Until next time, folks. Peace.